This is something that I'm really passionate about, and I just appreciate being with you all. My name is Kate Edgren. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I do later on in the presentation. So my big mantra is that expert learning is essential, and it is for everyone. When you think about learning, it's one of the things that you have to continue doing your entire life. As you grow, as you develop new relationships, as you parent children, as you age, you're going to have to learn new strategies, new skills, new technologies. So we all know that even if we're not in an educational setting, learning is essential. And when we think about being educators with our students, we have to understand that no longer can we just think our job is to teach them content. The International Society of Technology and Education recently shared this quote: "The massive shifts technology and globalization are expected to wreak on the workplace have already begun." So some of the jobs that are most in demand right now didn't even exist 5 or 10 years ago. And we have to realize and understand that we are preparing our students for these jobs. And if they're not going to be able to learn and adapt quickly to these changes, they're not going to have a place in the workforce. So I also really want to share how I believe expert learning is for everyone. This is some achievement data from the National Center on Educational Statistics. And what we see are groups of students, groups in this particular piece of data by race and ethnicity, that are still not performing at the same level as their peers of different races. And that's a problem. We have data from 1990, 2013, and 2015, and we can see some, I'm sure, positive things are happening, but we still have work to do if we want everyone to get an equitable education. Just again, scores in math, we're seeing some of the same gaps. So what do we do? And what do we do now? Because we can't wait for policy leaders or reform or new educational initiatives to fix this. And what I really believe is we have to shift our focus to what students are strong in and really shift our focus to helping them become expert learners. Yang Zhao put out an article that says students and their strengths are our biggest agents of change when we think about education. And I just think it's so important to remember that all of our students that are coming to the table can be expert learners. They all can. But here's what I think happens sometimes. I think, because I've experienced it, that we can still fall prey to this idea of average even when we think about expert learning. Okay? We think maybe there's an average age when this can start happening, or an average amount of time in education where you then become an expert learner. So for example, I actually started as a pre-med major, took a lot of hard science classes, and I will say that high school was pretty easy for me, and I hadn't learned how to learn until I hit some of these really hard college courses, and I saw such benefit in going and speaking with professors when I had a question. So at one point, I got a question wrong in a chemistry exam, and I went to my professor during office hours, and I asked why the question was wrong. I wanted to really understand the correct answer. And this is about what he responded with. "I understand this, but I just don't know if you're going to get it if you can't see why your answer is correct." So clearly he had some conception of this average age or amount of time in school or degrees that I needed to have before I was going to be capable of understanding this hard chemistry concept. And in the same way, when I start talking about the qualities of an expert learner that CAST has put out, the purposeful and motivated, knowledgeable and resourceful, strategic and goal-oriented, I have a lot of teachers, especially those who teach younger children, say, there's no way they can understand that language. That's too abstract. They don't know what that's going to look like and what that means. And so to me, that tells me that we're still falling prey to this idea of average. So as we know, the goal of the UDL framework is expert learners. And I really want us to remember that everyone can be an expert learner. It can look different for different students, but we have to believe that everyone can be an expert learner, and we have to really focus on the strengths that they're bringing to the table and shift our focus away from the deficits and the way that they're not measuring up. So I really believe that we have to help change the narrative, especially for our students, about who can be an expert learner. And I truly believe down to my toes that everyone can be an expert learner. And while UDL, I think it helps us design really fantastic learning environments, that's not the ultimate goal. That's not enough. We can all have a really great time experiencing a fantastic learning environment, but the ultimate goal is expert learners. So like I said, I was going to tell you a little bit more about what I do. I work at an elementary school in Columbus, Indiana with Bartholomew Consolidated School Corporation. And my job is pretty unique. I'm an official UDL facilitator, which means I'm job-embedded professional development for the implementation of UDL. And it's a really interesting job. It's fantastic. I love it. But a lot of what I do operates on teachers requesting help and collaboration. So just to tell you a little bit more about our elementary school, we have a wide variety of students. We're about between 70 and 80% free and reduced lunch. We have all the way from high functioning students that have some simple learning struggle, not that any learning struggle is simple, but all the way across the spectrum to low incidence significant disabilities. So we're working with a lot of learner variability. And I had a kindergarten teacher come to me this year and say, I really want to be intentional about teaching the qualities of an expert learner, but I teach kindergarten. And I was like, yes, I cannot wait to work on this because I want to show the rest of the building and now you all that we really can start this work early and we cannot fall prey to that average age of learning about your learning. So we designed kind of a little case study, and we started by taking some baseline videos that I'm going to share with you because these are my sweet friends from my elementary school. So you're going to see where we started.
What do you think it means to be purposeful?
I don't know yet.
Don't know yet? Okay. What do you think it means to be motivated?
Sometimes people go home.
Drake, what do you think it means to be purposeful as a learner?
Because it's really fun.
Okay. What do you think it means to be motivated about learning?
Wait, what is that? I don't know what that is.
What do you think it means to be purposeful about your learning? To be a purposeful learner. Not sure? That's fine. What do you think it means to be a motivated learner?
Okay, so I was actually really excited to see that for a couple of reasons. I think it shows us that these are not innate things that we learn about or we just pick up as we develop and grow. We really have to be intentional about teaching them to our learners. And I thought, oh my gosh, we have so much work to do and this is going to be awesome. So how do we help these young students understand these really big terms? Well, we use the guidelines to teach them about the ultimate goal of the guidelines, which is expert learning. So we started with access. We want them to just be able to understand what these big words mean. And again, using multiple means of engagement, representation, action, and expression. But it's not enough for them just to access the words and be able to tell us what they mean. We really want them to build on their understanding and then ultimately internalize. So as the teacher and I worked together, we designed strategies and activities using the framework to really help our students in this case study learn more about the qualities of an expert learner. And you'll see we started small. We just focused on purposeful and motivated. There's 6. I think that was a great place to start. But we did all sorts of different activities, different ways for them to express what they were learning. One thing that was really powerful was using read-alouds, like the little red hen. It was very easy for them to understand that the hen is being motivated, but all the other animals are not. We talked about the tortoise and the hare and how the hare was really fast, but he was not being purposeful. And I was so excited because I could really see them gaining and building in that understanding. And I thought for sure they were internalizing these concepts. So here is round 2 after several months of this work. And just to be clear, I worked with the teacher and I was kind of the special guest that would sometimes share lessons, but she was really the one enriching her everyday classroom work, classroom activities with these concepts and with this language. So here we are, second round.
What does it mean to be purposeful about your learning?
Just listen to directions.
Okay. It means to be motivated.
And you just give people hugs.
What does it mean to be purposeful when you're learning?
We work at it and take on challenges.
What does that mean? What does that look like when you're in class? Not sure? What does it mean to be motivated?
Motivated means have a reason to do stuff.
Yeah, what's your reason? What are you motivated by?
Going home.
You want to go home?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think it means to be a purposeful learner?
To not get frustrated and read books.
Okay. What does it mean to be motivated when you're learning? What does it mean to be motivated?
I forgot.
You forgot?
Okay, so that was round 2, and I have to admit, I was a little disappointed at that point because I thought, we have worked so hard. I've seen them really internalize this information and apply it across different settings. Like, what is going on here? Because to me, that looks like them reciting some definitions. That's playing school. That's not being an expert learner. And to see them not be able to apply it or remember ways that they're actually doing those things and having those qualities while they're learning just made me pause and reflect with the teacher and think, we need to really work on application. How can we make this a little bit more concrete as they're doing their day-to-day learning? But even the teacher was a little surprised at how they responded. And unbeknownst to me, the very next day, without any additional scaffolding or any purposeful intervention for the way that they answered in this video, she, as the classroom teacher who's with them all day, every day, asked them the same questions. And I want you to really notice and observe the difference.
Leah.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, do you remember how Mrs. Edgren came in and worked with us? Did we have so much fun with puppets and stories? All right, let's talk about purposeful. What does that mean?
We work on it and take on challenges.
Oh, is school hard sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay, so what does motivated mean? Do you remember what that means?
You think?
Okay. Hey, Drake. All right, we've been talking about purposeful and motivated. What does purposeful mean?
We work on and take on challenges.
Challenges, okay. So we do a lot of different things in the classroom. What's a way we can be purposeful at carpet time?
Crisscross applesauce.
Crisscross applesauce. What's a way to not be purposeful at carpet time? What could you do that's not purposeful?
If someone's right next to you.
Oh yeah, touching someone's not very purposeful. Okay, what does motivated mean?
We have reason to learn.
Yeah, and you helped the class come up with that. That was really cool. What's your reason to learn? What do you want to do?
I want to make a robot that can do whatever I say.
Oh, so you want to learn lots of things in school so you can do that someday?
Yeah.
That's so cool. High five. You did awesome. You can go sit down, buddy. Okay, what does purposeful mean?
We work on it and take on challenges.
So good. And how can you be purposeful like in our stations?
We can write words and try to do our best.
Try to do your best. Okay, what's a way not to be purposeful in your stations? What could you do that's not purposeful?
You don't look on the ground.
You do- well, yeah, you don't want to be looking on the ground and stuff like that. Okay, what does motivated mean?
You have a reason to learn.
You have a reason to learn. What's your reason to learn?
To cut hair.
You want to cut hair when you get older? Awesome. So you got to learn a lot of stuff. All right, good job.
Okay, so what observations can you make about the difference from when I was asking the questions and interacting with the student and when the classroom teacher was?
She connected to, and put it in context.
Right.
Because it's a big picture concept, and when you're connecting it in that way, they can apply it.
Right. And could you just see that their demeanor was completely different? And that shows me that when we talk about expert learning, relationships matter. And what we do day in and day out with students, whether they're old or young, those relationships really matter. And the Search Institute does a lot of work around developmental relationships, and they really push us to think about how we can change our relationships with young people from being nice to being necessary. And they talk about developmental relationships are close connections through which young people discover who they are, cultivate abilities to shape their own lives, and learn how to engage with and contribute to the world around them. And I think when we know our students and we foster those close connections, we truly can expand the margins of expert learning because we know our students and we can create learning environments and experiences that will help them grow in their ability to know how to learn. And we can also honor the expertise that they have that goes beyond the classroom, because all of our students are going to be experts at something. There's something that they're going to be really passionate about, and it might not be a critical skill, it might not be a critical standard. But when we know them, we can honor that expertise and use it to show them how to be expert learners in our classroom. So here's where I have to show you a couple other ways that we are helping students become expert learners throughout my building. And keep in mind how diverse my building is. We have teachers working with students to create visuals to help them understand what these terms look like and apply them. This visual in the middle is for a student with significant disabilities to help her learn how to make the best choices depending on the learning task. And sometimes the teacher has to cover up different options because she's going to want to pick a certain one every time. But she is doing it. She is learning how to be an expert learner for her. We also have resources for kids with some behavior struggles that can get really off track really quickly when they get stuck and frustrated. We have learners setting their own personal reading goals, sticking them on a Post-it, and tracking their progress. We have students claiming, I am an expert learner, I am resourceful, I go get a ruler when I need to, I get a calculator when I need to, I look at the clock when I'm telling time. And I think that's so powerful. They need to know that they can become an expert learner. We have a self-regulation maze down one of our hallways that's accessible to all students, but one student who really needs that to help self-regulate, it's there for him, so that he can stay in the learning environment when he's having a hard time. So expert learning is essential, and it is for everyone. But we can't stop there because everyone includes us. And this is where I tend to get a little teary. Every time. I should have warned you because I knew it would probably happen because it's also what I do when I get nervous. But this year, I've committed to be an expert learner because I don't want to forget what it's like to be a student. I don't want to forget what it's like to walk into a scary new environment or be approached with this really big project or be given a task that has so many steps. It just seems impossible. So this is me giving a keynote. This was in my district, so it really wasn't a big deal. But I said I would do it 18 hours before I had to give it. And that was really crazy and so unlike me. I want to prepare for weeks in advance. I flew to Canada. Some of my UDL Canadian friends are here, but I flew there by myself and gave some UDL training by myself. I'd never done that before. I'm not Katie Novak. And that was a big deal for me. I also have taken on some big district projects that, like I said, they have a lot of pieces, a lot of moving parts, a lot of people involved, things that I'm not comfortable doing. They're stretching me, they're growing me. And I did my first Network and Learn on the UDL-IRN webinar, live internet thing that I'd never done before. And I think it's so important that we, as adults, as the grown-ups, we model expert learning for our students. We show them what it feels like to be uncomfortable, to push ourselves, to learn new things. Because we all know in education that traditional paradigm is, I've been doing this for years. This isn't anything new that I need to learn about. Or, just one more thing. I just don't have time for one more thing. And so it's really important to me as a facilitator of adult learning and somebody who's still around students that I put myself in that position. Are we practicing what we're asking them to do and to be? Because we can't forget what it feels like. And before I forget, I'm taking a quick selfie to add to my little journey of the year of being an expert learner. So everybody smile. Sorry, that probably really messed up the camera stuff. I'm sorry about that. So the best way to create the culture you want for your students is to build it for the adults. So find a way for your staff to wonder, explore, and lead. And they're going to do the same thing for their students. So as I said before, expert learning is essential, and it is for everyone. And I really think when we believe that, and when we model that, and when we own that, and we throw away the averages we can have around expert learning, that's when learning can truly have no limits. Thank you.